Inside Spurs is brought to you by our partners talkSPORT Bets. New customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Go to talksportbet.com/Inside Spurs to claim this offer now.
I think it's inexcusable, really. I think you can't go against bottom of the... That's a win. That's a must-win. We should be celebrating on a Saturday night on the high road, and yet they've given nothing to celebrate apart from a 1-point draw against bottom of the league.
You're not a Brentford anymore. He might show a little bit too much respect to these opposition teams. 1 point out of 6 against Bournemouth and Wolves at home is not good enough.
No.
Why not play Brennan Johnson in that 9?
100% agreed.
Jess, they say you shouldn't fall in love with lone players, but I find myself, after the shirt
Buy
come
him
off.
now. Buy him now.
Where's the Europa League trophy?
Yeah, where's the trophy?
What a trophy.
What a
What a trophy.
Where is it? I mean, someone tried to claim that, was it?
He broke my heart. I'm going to say it to camera. Harry, if I've ever said anything bad, I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good.
I think his goodbye
Rubbish.
If you compare it to him and Son's as well, yeah.
We're not just bringing you back for a homecoming to break Shearer's record. We're bringing you back to try and progress Spurs into winning more trophies.
Hello and welcome to Inside Spurs, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet, talkSPORT's dedicated Spurs show where we talk all things Tottenham Hotspur. My name is Majestic and I'm joined by ex-pro, good friend of mine, a huge Spurs fan, Darren Ambrose, and a big welcome for the very first time onto the show, another Spurs fan, DJ and presenter, a bit like myself, it's Jess Iszatt. How are we, guys?
All good, all good.
Jess,
Thanks
welcome.
for having me. Yeah, this is cool. I like
It
what you've
is.
done with the place.
It is, but having worked here last season, there is something missing.
What's missing?
I'm looking around. Where's the Europa League trophy?
Yeah, where's the trophy?
What a trophy.
What a
trophy.
Where is it? I mean, someone tried to claim that, was it?
What, the vase?
That's a
The
vase.
vase.
That's
Oh,
a
wow.
vase. That's not
kind of
it.
sad.
'Cause
Yeah.
you wouldn't see a European trophy in Inside Arsenal. So I just thought, let's get it on.
Shots fired nice and early there. We're going to have to do better next time, Daz, when you're on. We'll get the trophy up there. But yes, welcome back, Daz.
Thank you.
Welcome for the very first time, Jess. We were reacting, of course, off the game the weekend. Spurs, a point at home against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let's start with you, Darren.
Yeah.
For me, they are the games you have to win at home if you want to be in the top 4. Simple as.
Yeah, I agree. They're real difficult games, those one, though. Obviously, they didn't have a point going into it.
No.
Worst team in the Premier League at that time, and still are at the moment in terms of points total. I just feel they're desperate to get a result. And yes, it was an opportunity missed, I felt, for Spurs, for us to go second in the table. I didn't think it was bad as what people are making out, though. I felt we could have won, especially first half. Second half, Wolves came into it, of course, and they got the goal and probably deserved it at the time. We got a late equaliser, which sometimes feels like a win, but it didn't. It didn't against Wolves. It didn't feel like a win, and Pellinia actually said it, didn't he? That still felt like a defeat, which is disappointing that we didn't get the 3 points. But we lose that last year.
Well, that's it, Jess. Dr. Spurs, as he's been touted many times. People that need a remedy of points, come and see us, and we dish out the 3. Only a 1 point from Dr. Spurs this week on the subscription.
Yeah.
But still disappointing.
I think, like you mentioned, you have to win those games. And I think the stat was we've only won 3 in 17 games at home.
Yes, I did speak to our good colleague and friend at talkSPORT, Danny Kelly, last night, who was absolutely fuming. And he did say that is relegation form.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's inexcusable, really. I think you can't go against bottom of the... That's a win. That's a must-win at home. And I think that just shows that we're still in a bit of a teething period, because it's not like we can't.
So that's a great point you raised, and this is what I want to bring to Darren, and that's why it's so good to speak to ex-professionals, because as you said, those games there in particular, Wolves desperate to get off the mark.
Yeah.
They're a good team.
Yeah.
I think there's some great players in that team. You could actually argue that their midfield might be better than ours, right, in some areas.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to get into those games if you don't score early because they grow and grow in confidence?
Grow in desperation as well if you're Wolves. And confidence obviously builds desperation as well, and vice versa. So yes, the more that game went on without Spurs scoring, the more they felt if we can nick one, that's our first 3 points of the season. And that mentality side of things, if you're rock bottom of the division, then probably has to be said, they probably deserve a few more points the way they've been performing, Wolves, in the recent games. I didn't feel they were bad at all. I felt they played really well in that match. And yes, I agree with both of you saying they are must-wins. But if you can't win, if you don't do enough to win, don't lose. And that's what Spurs done. They've not lost that game. They've scored a last-minute equaliser. Great goal as well, by the way. We'll touch on that. But you don't lose games like that. Last season, we lose games like that. We lose maybe 2 or 3 against the bottom team because we're going for that equaliser. We were very measured and patient, maybe a little bit too much, because if we scored a little bit earlier and we could have maybe gone on to win that game. But we had our chances. We had our chances to win. I think you need to look at the positives. It's not great in terms of where we are in the season, how we started reasonably well, get to second place, maybe beat Leeds, get to second place again, and you go into the international break. You can still do that.
I feel like we turn up to away games like we're the underdog, and then they have that bite and they have that fight in them throughout the game. But when we're at home, we tend to, if we've not done it in the first half, then, kind of like throw the towel in a little bit. Like, where was that grit? It was only Romero that I think was showing that. I think Brennan was showing frustration, and I think that Brennan Johnson, who was our top goal scorer, should have been on the pitch earlier. I mean, I'm not at the training ground, and also I think there is this idea that we're playing a lot more games so that they don't have enough time to train new things. I think Frank's really good at being reactive, but I think maybe in times like this when we don't have much training time, how can you be implementing new things left, right and centre? I think it's also telling that it's only Pellinia, the one that's got the goal.
Yeah.
Didn't we only have one shot on target in this whole of the second half?
Yeah.
And that was the goal. But you've got someone who didn't play for Spurs last season who's doing that. Where's the fight from all the people who were playing last season?
I think nervousness comes into it as well to a certain degree, and it sounds crazy. I've been there in terms of playing at home and playing away. It's such a different feel. If you're at home, particularly what happened last season, I've always called this, so have you when we've been on, the Spurs fans are unbelievable. They could have turned a lot last season, but you get that nervousness. If we don't score, what's going to be said? Are we going to get criticised? Are we going to do this? That mentality needs to change because we're a different side now. Different manager, different players. That mentality needs to change. And you're right, Romero's the only one that seems to be trying to bring that side away from Spurs. It's a horrible game in terms of you're playing bottom of the league at home. Everyone's expecting you to go 3-4, even 5-0. Football doesn't work like that.
I think in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you feel that collective groan when it doesn't go your way. And I can bet so many of those fans walked out before that goal at the end.
I did. I need to because I wanted to get home.
But that's the point. It's a late night, Saturday night. Yeah. We should be celebrating on a Saturday night on the high road. And yet they've given nothing to celebrate apart from a 1-point draw against bottom of the league.
It's crazy. We should be celebrating that. We should.
But I think
because
that's
we
the
lose that last
mentality that
season.
they have throughout the game as well.
And
that I think that's what's acting against them.
Yeah.
It's like that social inhibition, people watching, and it's that constant pressure. And then, even though it felt like in the moment, Pellinia ripping his top off, not complaining about that. Don't mean to objectify anyone. But
he does look fantastic.
He looks amazing.
Looks fantastic.
My God. I don't know why I'm surprised about that either, but it was surprising.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying celebrate a draw against Wolves. I'm saying we should be celebrating those last-minute equalisers.
That was in the moment.
There's still an air of negativity coming out of that game because it was against Wolves.
I just think with Spurs and at home, Thomas Frank, this is my only criticism of him so far, is, and it's all due respect to Brentford as well, who had a great result the weekend, by the way. You're not at Brentford anymore, right? Yeah. You're at Spurs where we're expected to win those games. And I think sometimes he might show a little bit too much respect to these opposition teams. Now, again, we got beaten by Bournemouth 1-0 at home. And we got, a point from Wolves. 1 point out of 6 against Bournemouth or Wolves at home is not good enough.
No.
And to go into those games playing Bentancur, Pellinia and Bergwijn as a 3, I think is negative. I think, Bentancur or Pellinia, you don't need both of them. I would have definitely had Sarr on earlier, who was responsible for the assist for Pellinia. I find Sarr has had a great start to the season. He looks like a completely different player. In actual fact, during the pre-season, he played in the 10 at times.
Yeah.
And I feel what we have, it's very difficult, and you'll know this, Darren, playing against that double low block.
Yeah.
Right? When people are going right, all we're going to do is soak up what you give us, try and get you in a counter, maybe a set piece, as they did. And Spurs looked like we was running out of ideas. And I think, Kudus had a real bright moment into the game. The goal was amazing. The link up between him and Bergvall.
Yep.
If that goes in, it's a completely different game, by the way, because I think the floodgates open.
Yep.
But I didn't, and it was offside. It is what it is. I feel that we find it really difficult to break these teams down. And this isn't new to Spurs. This goes back to Pochettino's Spurs. I remember games at Wembley against Swansea, 0-0s, and we just couldn't break teams down that banking on us. Darren, how do you do that? How do you break down those teams? Because when I look at the Premier League, I hate to say it on Inside Spurs, but Arsenal, they managed to do it with Newcastle, who applied and had 5 at the back at the end. But what did they have? They've got Declan Rice's deliveries. Unbelievable. Then you look, at Manchester City, for example, in those times of problems, they've got someone like Doku who can really open up, defences. What have Spurs got in their armoury at present that you feel we're not utilising?
Well, they've got the players, for sure. They need to be brave. And when I say brave in terms, I'm talking Thomas Frank needs to be brave. Exactly what you said. Against teams like this, don't play 2 deep-line midfielders. Even if you do, bring players on earlier. Because if you're playing against that double low block, you need players that are going to move the players of the opposition around, get them out of their positions. It's easy to play that double low block if you're also playing in a low block yourself. So there's no real opposition player that they're going to have to go, worry about him, worry about Sarr there. Maybe Brennan Johnson could have come on, Xavi Simons could have gone as a 10, and with Bergvall, those two in there, trying to create openings.
That's what happened later on. He brought on Brennan Johnson, didn't he? And he put Kudos on the other side and Xavi in the 10.
Yeah.
But it felt like that should have been done a lot earlier.
They should have started with it.
You mentioned Brennan Johnson. Are you a fan of his?
I'm a huge fan of his. How could you not? I literally, it defies belief that people would not back him.
So he gets a lot of stick online. Spurs groups I'm in absolutely can't stand him, even though top goal scorer for the club last season, 18 goals, 11 goals in the Premier League. Obviously the moment in Bilbao that we'll never forget as Spurs fans. One thing I'd say about Brennan Johnson is he definitely must be someone who probably needs an arm around him. If you're someone that comes off social media because of getting stick and abuse, I think Troy Deeney said it yesterday when he was on air on talkSPORT that he feels like that might be a mentality thing there. So he might be a more sensitive soul. That's fine.
Yep.
You have
he's
to
so young still.
Yeah, he's 24. I personally feel, and it'd be interesting in what the viewers feel, please feel free to let me know what you think of this in the comments. Brennan Johnson, I don't feel out wide on the right is his best position. Now, if you look at some of the goals that he's got this season, the goal against Burnley, the goal against Doncaster, I know it's Doncaster, but still you've got to do the run. Arriving late pass, he's got the legs on people. He's an instinctive finisher. When he doesn't have to think, Brennan Johnson's superb, in my opinion. When he comes up 1v1 against a decent defender, it's not even 1v1, it's 1v2 because of the double low block. Cuts inside, passes again, slows our play down. I feel, especially at moments when it's not working for Richarlison up front, we don't have another number 9, why not play Brennan Johnson in that 9?
100% agreed. I've been saying this since last season as well. In terms of his goal-scoring ability, arriving in the box, sniffing out chances, I think he deserves an opportunity as that number 9. As a wide player, for me, Brennan Johnson, if he's not in the game, he doesn't try to go and get involved in the game.
Yes.
And I think that's where the criticisms come from.
It's not his style, though, is it?
Exactly. So I feel that being that number 9, sniffing chances out in the box, letting other players do that work and getting involved from the wide when the ball comes in. If he had 4 touches in a half and scored 1 each half, no one would question that. But when you're out wide, I was there, I played there, and you don't get involved, it's like you're down to 10 men. And I was criticised for that as well because I didn't try to go and get involved until I learnt that position.
I wanted more from you, Dan.
Exactly.
You didn't give me enough, mate.
Until I learnt that position, and I still think that's what he's doing.
Did you try and then feel like you were getting sucked in and not getting joy from that? Because that's what I feel. I'm not a football player, I'm a hockey player, but I feel like you know what your strengths are.
Yeah.
And if you do get sucked, you know that where you get the most joy out of where you're playing is you want someone to know that you're going to be there no matter what on that post, sliding it in, like it's going to be a tap in, but it's going to go in the goal. I think that's what Brennan Johnson does. As soon as you suck him in, like you said, if he was to try and take on a 1v1 out of position in the middle, then what's he doing? Everyone would be like, what are you doing? And that's on a big platform, a big stage to be doing that when that's not where he's meant to be or where he wants it.
Exactly right. In terms of when I played on the wing, if I did, because eventually I'm bored out here not getting the ball. Sometimes it'll go fully down the left-hand side and I'm out on the right. So you go looking for it. Then you're out of position. The manager screams on, you're out of position, the fullback gets out, the players are going, what are you doing? You're compressing our space as well. So, yeah, and then you have to just stand out there, run back and forth, never get a touch. And you do get criticised for that because it looks like you're not involved, even though you're doing the job that's asked of you. Mm-hmm. Again, I just go back to give him that freedom, play him in that number 9. It's not really working at the moment with Richarlison. I really like him as a player. Works extremely hard.
And that number 9 is almost like a false 9, isn't it, really? You know, and it's not an out-and-out striker. He can sort of come from a bit deeper as well. He's got the pace.
I played with his dad, by the way, David Johnson.
Really?
And he was an out-and-out number 9.
Okay.
And an unbelievable finisher. And there's an element of that I see in Brennan in terms of his arriving at the right times. Some of the finishes that he does, this season, some of the finishes, just off the cuff, not thinking about it, looks natural. Give him that penalty box area, the width for the penalty box. Let him go there, sniff out chances, and I'm sure that one's when you're not thinking about it, as you said, he'll score goals there.
Yeah, I think for me personally, like I said, we know he can score goals. The numbers are there, you know. So I'm not going to be on someone's back who scored 18 goals for us last season. He's a young lad as well.
Yeah.
I just feel like, especially the addition of Kudus, that right-hand side for me is Kudus. It belongs to him. Yep. Him and Poro definitely are the two at the back for me. Again, that brings us on nicely to the back 4 at the weekend. Of course, we saw Jed Spence revert back to his sort of traditional position on the right-hand side of the defence with Udogie on the left. Udogie still feels a little bit rusty for me at the moment. I still think our best 4 is Spence on the left and Poro on the right at the moment. What did you make of Udogie's performance?
Yeah, same. A bit rusty. Yeah, a bit rusty. Not had much football, having injuries concerns as well. So, yeah, he needs to get up to speed. But do we want him to get up to speed? Was that a bad error from Thomas Frank, letting him get up to speed against Wolves? Maybe thinking, look, this is the game I can bring him in, get him up to speed. I agree with you. Our best back 4 at the moment is Spence on the left, Poro on the right. Poro's unbelievable down the right-hand side, and trying to have that connection link up with Kudus as well. You need that to progress and keep going and getting stronger and stronger. So I just felt that maybe it was an error playing Udogie on the left.
And I don't think Spence had his best game, Jess. There was no one in the penitentiary this weekend.
No,
right?
I was upset. I was going to say, normally he's got the after-game post on Instagram.
I don't know why he's not called it the penitentiary. It needs to be the penitentiary.
That's trick. But I agree with you. And I also think that Poro should have started. But Poro started the last game, which I think he shouldn't have done.
And was captain against Doncaster. I think there's little moments like that. I think he's rewarding people with, you know, the right games. This is a big step up for Thomas Frank in terms of game management.
Yeah.
We're recording, you know, this on a Monday morning. We've got Bodo Glimt tomorrow. They're in training for a big away game in the Champions League. One of the must-win games when you look at the fixtures that we've got. So it's going to be difficult for him to get it right. And I think, you know, we have to give time for these things. People coming back from injury. We still have a lot of injuries in the front line. Madders, Kulu, Solanke, so important to us as well. But one thing, if we look at the goal, and we look at the goal from the weekend, again, there's a man who comes up, Vicario, and I'm sorry, I'm still not having him. As someone, if we're going to go and be a Champions League football club on a regular basis, I don't think Vicario is a number 1. Jess?
Oh, it makes me really sad to say it, but he has made some errors which feel unforgivable. I think that he has a lot of sway on the pitch, though, with the players in terms of how he interacts with them. But you've got to have the skills to match, don't you? I don't know. I find it really hard because I have a lot of love for Vicario.
I've got a lot of love for the way that he loves it, the intensity that he plays at, and he looks the part, he sounds the part. But unfortunately, when you're parrying out balls like that, you know, from that set piece, and again, really and truly, if it wasn't for Mickey van der Ven, we wouldn't be talking about a trophy on there.
Yep.
because even in that Champions League, Champions League wishful thinking, Europa League final.
That's the next one.
Yeah,
Yep.
Europa League final. You know, that mistake that he comes out for, that's in him.
Yeah.
And that worries me. Now, as a player, does it worry you when your keeper's got that in him?
Yeah, of course it does. As obviously I didn't play in defence, but I know, I've been in change rooms, I know what gets spoken about. If you have a goalkeeper that, and look, for me, he's been found out in terms of his crossing take abilities, in terms of the set plays. I was a set play taker when I played, and I know my management team would have said, put it on the goalie.
Yeah.
Put it right on him. The big defenders coming up.
He's actually got a bit better at coming for crosses. I'll give him his due.
Yeah.
It does feel like they're training.
He's obviously working on it, and he has to, because last season, mistakes upon mistakes and drops it, and I just know players would be saying to me, like, deliveries, put it right on him. We'll get around him, he'll drop one, and we'll score a goal. I agree with you. I love him as a player. I love his desire, his just love for Spurs that he seems to have. I don't think he's the one that...
I'd want him at the club. I think he's a great number 2. But, you know, when people like... You know, you look at the teams around us and you look at Arsenal, I hate to bring him up, but David Raya, probably the best in the league right now. And you got Addison, you've got Donnarumma now at Manchester City. We're looking at Chelsea. One of their biggest issues is the keeper. You know, and I know we got pelters because David Bentley said we're going to win the league next year. But if you want to get anywhere near winning the league, you have to have a solid number 1. And we talk about all the teams that have won over the years, the Manchester United, the keepers they've had. When Leicester won the league, Kasper Schmeichel was absolutely superb. He's a top keeper. I just feel that's an area that we are going to have a look at.
Well, if you look at most teams that do win the Premier League, and I'm not sitting here saying we're going to win the Premier League, but if you look at teams that do,
are you sure?
They concede the fewest amount of goals. That's no coincidence. It's the back 4 and the goalkeeper. You get that right, and then you've got the talent in front that can produce. You've always got a chance.
And Jess, I can tell you've got a soft spot for Vicario, right? But that back 4 now, the one I'm talking about, Jed Spence, Romero, who is just Captain Incredible now. Mickey van der Ven is just unbelievable. Excellent. Some of the stuff he did at the weekend as well was brilliant. And then Porro, that is a Champions League side, top 4, right? The keeper behind that doesn't fill me with confidence.
Is Europa League.
He's got the passion. I'm starting to agree with you, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's still room to learn, but what would you have instead?
What, going into the market?
Yeah.
I think Crystal Palace have got a better number 1 than us.
But do you think
that
would happen, is possible on the cards?
I think when we talk about the love he has for the players, and players clearly like him as well as a character, if you get the right goalkeeper with the right character, that changes immediately. You mentioned Crystal Palace, Dean Henderson. You can see his character. You can see he's loved by the support, the management, the players. He would do exactly the same as what Vicario's doing. You just need that belief in yourself, and I think Vicario has that. And I think, and it's harsh saying it, isn't it?
And I think even Nick Pope is better. There's some really good English keepers at the moment in the Premier League.
I feel harsh saying it about Vicario.
Of course, and
it's
again,
been part of our history now.
Well, at the end of the day, we're having a discussion, and I'm looking at what went wrong at the weekend. And again, if we don't concede that poor set piece, and then I see some of his distribution, some of the kick-outs, it was just... Anyway. Let's move to something more positive, which is Pellinia, because he's scored 3 goals now in overall play. He's been exceptional. I want to talk about, especially, because it's all good to compare with different teams, etc. You're looking at Chelsea's model. Now, the reason I don't think Chelsea are anywhere near winning the league, they don't have enough leaders in there, enough experience and maturity, and it's not their model to buy those players anymore. I was so glad when we signed Pellinia. I know he's on loan, but I believe talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, has been speaking about how Spurs are trying to get the deal done as a permanent deal for Pellinia. That would be something very special, Darren. I think, and you'll know better than me because you've been in the change rooms. How old were you at Newcastle?
18. 18.
Yeah. And what kind of players did you have around you at Newcastle?
Well, Gary Speed, Alan Shearer, Shea Given, all people, real experience at the top level.
Yeah, and as a young man, when you see those players around you, like a Pellinia, you're 1-0 down against Wolves, he comes and saves the day. What does that do for you as a younger player around you?
Well, it's happened to me before. I made an error in a European game for Newcastle. gave away a goal, gave the ball away in the corner. They ended up scoring. Then I put a corner in. There he was. God rest his soul. Gary Speed headed one in, and then a couple of minutes later, Shearer scored the winner. So you look and you think, as a young player, you can express yourself. They allow you to express yourself. And if they come and criticise you, which I've had that from experienced players, not just at Newcastle, wherever I've been, it's coming from a good place. It's coming from a place of experience at the top level. And if they don't talk to you, you think, well, they must not think a lot of me. So it's coming from a good place. And you just feel that even if you do make an error, these guys are there to clear it up for you, to allow you to make that error. I mean, Pellinia's been a revelation. And I agree with you, coming in 30 years old, experience at the top level in the Premier League, Bayern Munich last season. I think it's been probably one of the best signings that we've made for a long time, actually. And some of his performances have been tremendous. And with the players, Bergvall, Xavi Simons, all those young players around him, they can learn off that mentality.
Jess, they say you shouldn't fall in love with lone players, but I find myself, you've never, after the shirt come off.
Buy him now. Buy him now. Why have we not already? I mean, yeah, he's... I feel like you touched on it there with having the younger players, and we've got so many promising young players, but when we have young, exciting players, they're not consistent, and that's fine because you're learning, but you do need the consistency around you and that experience to, like you said, pick up the pieces almost, or just keep that strength there. It's a certain level of, like, not getting your head down, like even just getting that goal in the last minute. That is something where experience comes through. You don't just give up in the last minute.
And the way he took the finish as well was so measured.
Yeah,
where he saw the spot.
And again, the touch perhaps was incredible.
But again, someone who for me should have been on the field a lot earlier.
Yeah, agreed. And people say, I didn't mean that, he meant to bring that down. He meant that. He see Pellinia, and that's the experience in Pellinia, probably screaming, touch it down. Unbelievable touch, and the finish was tremendous.
It was worthy of more than a point.
Agreed.
I think Sarah's one of those people who's so underestimated.
Yeah.
Like if you're not a big Spurs fan and you're like, I don't know, United fan, you're watching the game, you wouldn't even really be seeing him as someone who's one to watch, like to look out for, like mark him, like make sure that he's not getting the ball at all, because he has those little magic moments. Like one of the goals, he was just completely left on his own last game. And I just think again, I've watched with people who aren't Spurs fans as well, and they've been like, our Sar's a bit rubbish, isn't he? And I was like, he is literally our Sar, like magic man. One to watch, I reckon.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a bit more about the season in general. I think we've played all sorts of games now that we've seen. I said it even last week. We've seen it, going away to Manchester City. We've had a Champions League game. How are you feeling about it so far, Dan? A new manager's in. You've got new players to bed in as well.
It can only be positive. Although the result against Wolves can be classed as a negative, I can only look at it as positivity at the moment, because, as we said, we're not many games in. New manager, new players bedding in. You could easily be sat here mid-table, 10th, 11th, 12th, going, same old Spurs really from last season.
Well, Jess brought in the stat earlier on about the 3 wins, and how many was it?
Still learning,
in
though.
17
games. At home.
They're not Thomas Frank, though. Thomas Frank's, OK, he's lost and drew.
Lost and a draw.
He's still learning his team.
This is why I'm trying to, because it just feels like the discussions that I'm in my Spurs WhatsApp groups is like the glass half empty, half full, and it just seems to be dividing the Spurs fans. Like your opinion of Brennan Johnson, someone we go, he's useless, get rid of him. It's so one way or the other, right? And I just feel at the moment, if we can get a result, if we get a result against Bodo Glimt, a result against Leeds, you breathe. It's almost like sections of the seasons. Breathe, you go again, and hope we're going to get more players back, etc., and people bed in. What's the highlight been so far for you, Jess?
This season?
Yeah.
Pellinia getting, I don't know, I got not the shirt off moment. That's what you're laughing at, aren't you? I just think that he's come in and he's managed to get man of the match like twice already. When I think at the time, maybe not before the last game, it was like 50% of the time that he'd played or something stupid. And I just think that, again, maybe he was a bit not underrated, but he's been someone who's been really exciting joining us, and I think we should buy him now.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse, it's your first time on the show. I just wanted to speak to you about your love of Spurs. Where does it come from? Like, why are you a Spurs fan?
I not out of choice,
Never had a
My
choice.
granddad's was a huge Spurs fan. My dad, huge Spurs fan. He actually went to school with Glenn Hoddle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my dad's older. My uncle was friends with him at school back in the day. And,
Was he a baller at school, Glenn Hoddle?
shall I tell you what, they actually have a funny story where because my dad has 3 brothers, so there's 4 of them, they played a lot of table tennis. And there was one time where they didn't have, one of them couldn't make it, so they just got Glenn Hoddle in to come play with them. I need like actual proof from Glenn about this because my dad's uncles chat a load of rubbish. But yeah, I just think it's quite funny. Like they used to watch him in the bus and give him a little wave before the games, stuff like that. But my first memory, personally, my dad, I think, was hoping that my little brother would get into football. Absolutely not. He's a boxer now, doesn't care for football whatsoever. But I went when I think I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. Got taken to old school White Hart Lane.
Nice.
I remember my brother like sat on the chair and I was literally like stood on the chair jumping around watching these guys play football. I can't remember who it was against, but Teddy Sheringham scored, 1-0 win, got it over the line, had a hot dog at the end. Yeah, it was one of those days out which was a little bit of a turning point where I think my dad was like, oh, it's going to be you who's into it, not this one. So it was cool.
Was it always Spurs?
Always Spurs.
No one in your family support anyone else?
No,
It's always
my
gonna be Spurs?
mum literally doesn't know anything about football. She grew up in Malaysia, came over here. Again, I tell her to... when we went to Australia and Andrew's still looking after us, I made her come to that Newcastle game at like 4 a.m. in a Perth casino, and she was wearing one of my Spurs shirts as well. So yeah, she is Spurs now. But other than that, in the family, no.
It's funny that you mentioned, obviously, your dad thinking, you know, his son's going to be the one into football, but his daughter is. It brings me on nicely that the women's team beat Leicester at the weekend 2-1 in the WSL. What's your involvement with the Spurs women's team?
So I DJ in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when they play.
Nice.
They always play a handful of games there. United, Arsenal, I think it was Chelsea last time as well.
Yeah.
That first season. And then I got to cover a couple of the men's games, which was wild. Spoke to Sonny when we won against Luton, 1-0. I mean, we weren't having the best season, but I got to speak to Son before he left. So that was great for me. Was DJing for the first Spurs Arsenal win for the women's.
Nice, that's a big win.
That felt pretty historic. Got to say that I played that game as well. Nice. I guess on the decks. But yeah, no, it's wicked. I think women's football is absolutely killing it at the minute. I think that the new manager has really shaped him up for this season as well. It feels like a really good turning point, and I'm glad that I get to be a part of it as well.
Amazing. If you're watching Inside Spurs with our partners talkSPORT Bet, don't forget new customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Go to talksportbet.com/Inside Spurs to claim this offer now. Since our last episode, when David Bentley touted it, there's been a lot of chat about a potential return for a certain Mr. Harry Kane. So that's going to bring us on nicely to our next topic, because just this week, 100 goals in 104 games for Bayern Munich. Darren Ambrose, listen, you know how much me and you loved Harry Kane. Yep. He broke my heart. I'm going to say it to the camera. Harry, if I've ever said anything bad, I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good. Want you back for good, right? No, genuinely, listen, loved him. My son Leo loves him. Incredible player for Spurs. Has often been criticised for not showing up in the big moments. Best striker in the world.
Yep.
Simple as.
Yep. Would I have him back? Yes. I'd love him back at Spurs. I really would. You know what? We sit here as Spurs fans. We're always optimistic about certain things. And you had David Bentley on recently saying we're going to win the Premier League. You get Harry Kane back.
By the way, John Terry got involved in the comments on that one. JT turning out in the comments. I love that John Terry's watching Inside Spurs rather than Inside Chelsea.
Yes.
It's a better show. Why wouldn't you?
Why would he watch Inside Chelsea? If you get Harry Kane back, I would probably say there's a real good chance we could win the Premier League. A real good chance. That guy is getting better and better. The criticism he takes, particularly from some English fans, England fans, when he plays for England, drops too deep. He is a goal machine. and he's only getting better. And some people question, well, it's only out there, it's only at Bayern Munich, it's an easier league. When he went there, everyone said, it's really difficult, he's not going to break Lewandowski's records, whatever. Smashing everything. And 100 goals in 104 matches, it's incredible. I'd love him back. They need to go and get this done in the summer. He'd come back, he'll break Shearer's record, and he'll cement himself as not only a Spurs legend, but the greatest goal scorer in Premier League history.
Double signing from Bayern Munich, Pellinia and Harry Kane, permanent deals.
Imagine. Do you think there's anyone, apart from Shearer, who wouldn't want Kane back at Spurs?
Well,
I'll tell you what, I bet you find some people, and they say never go back, never go back.
That is crazy.
Crazy.
Let's just assess it quickly to see the realistic chance of it happening or not. First and foremost, we have to get Champions League football. If we don't get Champions League football,
Agreed.
there's a very real opportunity for him not to come back to Spurs.
Yep.
Because he's a Champions League striker. He's played Champions League all the time at Bayern Munich. Why would you leave that? I know he clearly probably wants the record. He's got records for days, this guy, yeah?
Yep.
And I was looking at the numbers that Shearer did in his later career, bearing in mind, Harry's not had such a big injury that Alan Shearer had during his career. I think Harry could come back and do it, especially in this Thomas Frank team. Now, Liverpool have got Ekatike and Iszatt. So Liverpool out, they don't need him.
Yep.
Chelsea, they could definitely do with him. This was the leader. But his Spurs ties,
That's what I mean.
Can he do it?
Would he do something?
Would he
I
do
don't
it?
think he would.
He absolutely wouldn't.
Don't think he would.
I don't think he would. The fact that he didn't throw his toys out the pram to get the Manchester City deal out says who he is, right? So put that to one side. Arsenal, no. So it's part of that one. Now, Manchester United, they're always touting around, Manchester. Why would you go to Manchester United?
Yeah, exactly. Unless they get Champions League.
Unless they get Champions League. They're not getting.
They're not going to.
They're not going at all.
Especially not this season. They're not going to.
So it leaves his options quite limited, Jess, really. A return home, break the record in
Can
a
you
place.
imagine that homecoming?
That would
Can
be
you imagine
unbelievable. Also, I think his goodbye
Rubbish.
didn't. Yeah.
Well, it was a see you
Like, if
soon,
you compare
wasn't it?
it
It was
to
a see
him
you
and
soon.
Sons as well,
Well, this was the
he's
thi-
coming back.
Yeah.
This is the thing. With Sonny's one, it was a great fairy tale ending. He got the trophy and we got to say goodbye in his home country. Beautiful. With Harry, obviously, it was the selling. Apparently, they sent him his stuff and he weren't allowed to the training ground, is what I was hearing.
That was odd.
The irony is, I've heard the same about Daniel Levy.
Yeah.
Apparently, they sent him his stuff in a box in a van and went, you can't come round here now, which is quite ironic. And if there was any qualm with Harry Kane towards the club and his dealings, then surely, Darren, that would have been with Daniel Levy, maybe broken verbal promises, and the way at the end he wasn't allowed to go say goodbye to
he had that
teammates,
interview, didn't he, with Gary Neville, and he spoke about that to a certain degree, and the broken promises, nothing was in his contract, and that was what troubled him the most. But I think, as soon as Daniel Levy left, that was the first thing everyone said. Harry Kane will come back now. Harry Kane will come back. And by the way, he'll break that record in a season and a half. Easy. He's got 43 goals behind, is he? 44 to go ahead. He'll break that in a season and a half at Spurs. What Spurs need to do, though, is show ambition. First and foremost, Champions League. Whatever way they can do it, need to get Champions League next season. Then sign in players. You've got players coming back that are obviously good players, Madders, Kulusevski, players like that. But they need to sign Pellinia permanently. Obviously, they've got Kudus now. Sign other players to show that ambition to Harry Kane that, no, we're not just bringing you back for a homecoming to break Shearer's record. We're bringing you back to try and progress Spurs into winning more trophies.
I think you're right that that's the turning point, because he was scoring regardless, like his difference between scoring home or away, he was getting the same. It was so consistent. Like when he left, all the stats are coming out. It was like if he got 23 goals at home, 24 goals at home, it'd be 23, 22 away. Yeah. It didn't matter what stage he was on, he was going to deliver. So for him to come back, you're right, there needs to be a change. There needs to be we're serious about this.
Yeah, it'd be an amazing acquisition, because you're looking into Spurs' forward line at the moment, and I feel that's a massive problem. Yeah. We've already chatted today about the possibility of Brennan Johnson being used as a false nine at some point. I think Richarlison started off the season so well, we thought, hang on, about World Cup year, Richarlison scoring bicycle kicks, let's go. Comes off the boil a bit. Solanke injured, waiting for him to come back. let's see what he's like under Thomas Frank. We do know that Frank and his staff develop strikers pretty well. Yeah. But Harry Kane coming into that mix, if I believe it's the buyback's about 55, 60 million. The fact we sold it to 80, for him to have gone away...
No-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And you talk about Vicario and the goalkeepers that the big sides around have. You mentioned them already, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, even Man United, they've all got their number 9. We're still talking, do we put Brennan up there? Yeah. Do we play with Charlotte? We still haven't got that focal number 9. Solanke, yes, but will he do what Harry Kane does? No, he won't. No.
You need that person, that player, that before they even set foot on the pitch, the other team is going, they absolutely cannot get it anywhere near within, like, goal-kicking distance. Yep. Because at the minute, like we said, like, even Bren, like, he's tapping merchant. Yep. Like, you can't... They're not going... They're like, oh, if he's off on a run, like, don't let him have a go at it. But Harry Kane gets it anywhere near that box. Or even, like, someone like Solanke stood there, you just don't let him turn. Yeah. You don't let him get anywhere near it. And we don't have that person that people are scared before they get on the pitch is going to get a goal.
The one thing, and we know as his age creeps in, which would develop even more, is his ability to drop a little bit deeper. Some of the passing I've seen him doing in the Bundesliga has been outrageous. Yep. And Bayern Munich are known for playing very fast wingers. Drop deep, his wingers to go in. Him looking for kudos or something and him dropping, it's going to take defenders out, which will allow space out of those double low blocks when they come in. That's how Spurs were effective with Kane and Son. Yep. It was the Kane drop, the Son's gone, they turn around. He used to even do it. Remember that goal we scored in the Carabao Cup, where he's picked it up on the halfway line and Dele Alli's running behind. Those balls, that's what... He is a number 10 and a number 9. I remember years ago watching Match of the Day and Shearer, when they asked Shearer, like, what kind of player is he? Is he like more like you? Is he sharing him? He goes, mate, he's both of us and better. Yeah. Like,
and he's right. He's right, he is. And I agree with you. I've watched some of these matches in the Bundesliga, some of the deliveries, and he just looks like he gets so much time wherever he is on the pitch, in terms of the finishing. He's so calm. It looks like he's got so much time. People say, why is he not getting shut down? Because he's so smart at his positioning. He'll get it, there's no one around, and his finishing is second to none at the moment. And he's the same with his assists as well. He drops deeper, loads of time, no one around him. Gets it, plays Elisa, plays people in down the wings. Sensational, and make it happen.
How do you mark someone like that as well? Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, you double up on them and you create more space for other players. Exactly. And we have got the other players. Does he come home, Jess? Yes or no?
Yes.
Does he come home?
Yes.
He's definitely coming.
He's coming
Don't
home.
excite me.
He's coming home.
This is like Christmas. It's like, you know when I've asked for something for Christmas, please.
He's coming home.
As I said, Harry, we love you. Come home. Right, we've got to talk about the little thing that's happening tomorrow, which is the Champions League. Yep. Bodo Glimt, which is, of course, you're supposed to beat them away from home. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're supposed to. You don't win the Europa League's rubbish. We got them in the Champions League. Yep. Doesn't that say the irony of that? The irony that we've got them and Frankfurt, who we beat in the run to the trophy that's not up there at the moment. Yep. We've got in the Champions League. We know what it's like over there. The boys have played there. They've won there. It's a very tight turnaround from Saturday. Do you expect much rotation in his 11?
Well, by the way, before we talk about rotation, before that game out there at Bodo Glimt in Europa League, I seem to remember certain European experts saying this ain't going to be easy, and actually predicting Spurs would go there and lose. Went there and it was relatively comfortable for us, and then 5-1 overall, bringing them back home. I do expect a strong side, I do, but I do think there might be some changes to personnel, and hopefully he's listening today and we don't go too deep line midfielders, because I think this is a game as well that we don't really need to do that. And we play maybe Sarr from the start, Bergvall from the start, and really go at them and get early goal and just kill the game off, the game off like within the first half an hour, because that's what you want. 2-3 goals up early on, you can just relax then.
Come on, Frank, let's enjoy it.
I know.
You can get it done.
The other thing, Jess, for Bodo Glimt is this is their home game in the Champions League, and the way that the league's set up now, like, you've got to win your home games, right? If you have any chance of even getting to the playoffs. So they're going to have to be forward-thinking. So I don't feel like we're going to come up against a double O block like we do in the Premier League. I think there'll be a lot of space. Is this the kind of game for Xavi Simons to finally arrive for Spurs?
I hope so. I feel like he just didn't have his game this weekend.
He looked frustrated. He
Yeah.
done a couple of crossfield balls that went wayward, went out, and you can see the frustration.
Get
He's trying hard. He's trying hard, but I think maybe this could be the game that he...
Yeah, I also think that people who are saying, oh, like, maybe we shouldn't start him because he had a bad game, you can't punish a player for one bad game to then, for the next game, because what does that do to them? Like, he's a new young player and he's got it, and I think having faith in someone like that, especially, like you said, away at a team that plays slightly differently, he can thrive in this one, I reckon.
Sometimes it's games like this, as a player, where you've come in, you're not really settled that much, big price tag, big reputation. There's games like this, you can go away to Bodo Glimt, get a couple of goals, be allowed the freedom to play and express yourself, get a couple of goals, then you're set for the whole season. Your confidence is then booming and you're ready to go. And I think this could be the game for that to happen.
Of course, a little look ahead to Leeds on the Saturday as well, which is an early kick-off Saturday afternoon. Will he be thinking about that or as well? Because basically, it's almost like going into weeks where he's got 2 games. This is going to be my side here. This is going to be my side there, hopefully, because obviously injuries as well. You know, he has to win this game, but equally he has to win the Leeds game.
Yeah, I agree. I hope he isn't thinking the Leeds game, though. I hope he's only taking this game. You'd like to think we've got enough if there's a few tied legs that we can make some good changes for the Leeds game as well. They are both winnable for me. They are both games that we need to win going into the international break. But hopefully he's only... I'm sure he is. Look, Thomas Frank he's been in the game a long time. He'll only be concentrating on this one and getting a positive result.
And do you think, Jess, that with these 2 games coming up now, if Spurs can win both of those, going to the international break in the top 4, having won 2 games out of 2 in the Champions League, that's an amazing start for Thomas Frank.
That'd be happy days for everyone. I think, again, this is where within Spurs it gets a little bit fickle. If we, lose one badly, then people will be divided again. I actually do think we need to win both of these to shake any sort of recent bad feeling.
I think we will.
Yeah.
I think we
we
will
win them both.
Interesting, of course. talkSPORT will have you covered on all of those games. That's all we've got time for this time on Inside Spurs. A huge thank you to both Darren and Jess, and we'll see you soon on Inside Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.